it's so multifaceted. It's almost, what can't you do here?
Right.
It's just cool to do it in a place that we're not renting from.
This is Hourglass, the podcast for United Way of King County in Seattle. Coming up, a conversation about Sacred Land Collective, an Auburn-based Black-owned 78-acre partnership that offers programs, retreat spaces, and cultural ceremonies for people to gather, rest, and heal. United Way and its partners have held retreats at Sacred Land Collective, and for this episode, we'll chat with Sacred Land Collective co-founder and Director Omi King and event manager Jaylon Nazario about the collective's efforts to cultivate healing for Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. We'll also chat with Mari Hirabayashi, United Way Events and Marketing Manager, on our support of businesses owned by people of color. And we'll discuss our free tax preparation campaign and the local volunteer opportunity. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for tuning in.
We take it for granted because there's elk out here all the time, right? People have never seen an elk. Never seen an elk. And they're like, an elk or a deer that could just walk up to the house, or, an eagle flying overhead. Those things are sacred. And so, for me, the thing that I've noticed the most that people will come and say, wow, I just feel better just being here.
That was Omi King, co-founder and director of Sacred Land Collective, an Auburn-based Black-owned 78-acre partnership that offers programs, retreat spaces, and cultural ceremonies for people to gather, rest, and heal. There are many such spaces like Sacred Land Collective nationwide, but few owned by people who look like Omi. A 2024 report by the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy cited American Bar Association data that says Black American land ownership peaked at 1910 with 14 million acres. But by 2022, the report said that number dipped to just 1.1 million acres, a 90% decline, and a loss of about $326 million. The report cited exclusionary zoning, redlining, and discriminatory real estate practices among the primary contributors to Black land loss. Omi acquired the expansive property in Auburn and developed it around the time the nation grappled with the George Floyd tragedy. She and her son, Jaylon Nazario, have made it a place where people of color can reflect and heal from the same type of systemic racism and oppression that cost those communities abundant land. Omi and Jaylon said they are still discovering ways that Sacred Land Collective can be used to create thriving communities to address intergenerational and interpersonal traumas. Sacred Land Collective offerings include solo or group retreats, dialogues around healing, foraging education tours, land partnership training, and ancestral land practices for sustainable climate resilience. Last year, Sacred Land Collective served as a retreat site for United Way's Black Community Building Collective, a group of Black-led organizations brought together by United Way to build relationships, share best practices, and implement strategies with United Way funding. Buki Gates of Baseball Beyond Borders, a Black Community Building Collective member, spoke about the significance of the Sacred Land Collective space.
I would drive past Sacred Land Collective often, right? Taking, kids to baseball games, or just when I lived in the area, I would always just use that when I went to go get my meat at the butcher.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that I could even set my feet on that land. But just being there, recognizing and knowing that we always talk about owning land, and there was living proof of our ability to own the land.
Hourglass recently sat down with Omi and Jaylon for a discussion about the origins of Sacred Land Collective and their efforts to cultivate healing for Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. Here's what they had to say.
Basically, myself and the other founding director, who's no longer with us, were working together at, she's a therapist, and I'm a holistic healer, spiritual advisor, practitioner. And we worked at a place called Nile's Edge. And I was doing Reiki and out of that space. And we just started having conversations about having a retreat center, because that place was sort of like a clinic, and they did different body work and energy work and that sort of thing, and therapy. You could rent out the office space. So we were just talking, and one day she called me and said, I found this place. I just came from a Buddhist retreat, and I found this place that would be lovely to host retreats. And I know that you know about retreats and holistic practices. I would love to work with you on something, on a project. I was like, cool. But the place was in Whidbey Island.
Oh.
And Black and brown people are not going to Whidbey Island for that kind of work. We can barely get them out here. So we were like, well, that might not be the idea, but we're on to something. So we started writing a business plan, and she was doing things on her own as far as trying to secure a property. We looked at several places, and then I was looking on Redfin one day and found this house that was on 18 acres.
18 acres.
And we had written this business plan, and we looked at another place that was kind of a weird, it was in Issaquah, and it was a shady business deal. But we met this philanthropist who offered Tracy to meet with some people that were looking to give money away to different organizations. And during that time, it was right around the time that George Floyd was murdered.
Okay.
And it was like for months or so, people were just getting murdered on their phones. We were just watching people die, Black people. And there was no place to put that grief or even talk about it.
Right.
And, you know, while I had my delusions of grandeur about what a healing center would look like, we would host, you know, celebrity gurus like Deepak Chopra, Jaylon Nazario, and have, you know, retreats and then build this land out. And I'm being all over the place, but we talked to Larry Yang, and he introduced us to an organization that was looking to fund a Black and brown or women-owned organization. And we met with them twice. And at first it was, you know, they thought we were just looking for land to buy land. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Our people need a place to heal. I am a Black woman in Seattle, and I go to all kinds of things that are African-based and be the only African or the only, you know, Black or brown person in a yoga class or a drumming class or a dance class. So I just wanted to have my own space. And I had graduated from Intervision Institute studying under Jaylon Nazario and graduated as a spiritual advisor and life coach. And so I wanted to have, before we graduated, we had to write like a living vision plan, something that we wanted to manifest, because we were learning manifestation and all of these things, all these metaphysical technologies. And I wrote this plan about a healing house that I wanted to have that had, you know, different places that practitioners could rent out, or if someone was having some sort of healing modality like colon hydrotherapy or acupuncture, they would have a place to stay so they could deal with maybe the after effects and be cared for while they're going through this process. And then we found this house, and the philanthropist that we met introduced us to the foundation that granted us, based on our business plan and what was happening in the world at the time, $3.5 million to buy this place. So we own it.
Wow.
Off 2 conversations.
What year was that?
This was 2019.
2019.
And we closed on the house in 2012, on the property.
Closed on the house in 2012.
So we got this property. We were looking at this property when we came out for the visit, and we were standing in the yard and looking across this beautiful pasture field, and there was a barn and an old farmhouse and just acreage. And I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool? And it looks right out at Mount Tahoma. So we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we were able to get both pieces of land? And the real estate agent that we were with at the time was like, well, that's for sale too. So that's how we ended up. We bought, there were 2 sales, and we combined it and made one big property that is totaled 78 acres, which at the time was the largest land purchased by an African-American woman in the history of Washington. Since then, others have bought land, but at that time, we were the first.
And so once you got it, once you had it and you have the idea, you have sort of like a template of what you want to do, what did it take to get it to where it is right now?
Well,
I'd say we're still on that journey.
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, we're still in infancy stages, maybe toddler stages now, I'd say.
Okay.
Because, if you don't mind me.
Yeah,
cutting here,
absolutely.
I think there's new ideas and new concepts that have come up that we've kind of not pivoted, but bolstered up what we're doing to kind of make it a little more multifaceted. So, like with what I'm doing with the art space on the land, that wasn't probably in your mind at all.
Vision.
It was the shed that I'm building the recording studio in was an ATV shed that they left here when we got the place. So, I think it's I think now we've solidified our foundation, and now we're doing a lot of fundraising, financial planning, looking 3 quarters ahead as far as what we want to do. So we're already in next winter.
Oh, wow.
And the interesting thing about that is, I had a vision, and from my vision, I was able to get a group of people that had similar visions, but had their own dreams, right? And we've all been able to kind of implement our own flavor to this vision that we had. And I'm a Gen X, right? To my core. My son is a millennial. So there are things that he saw coming into this role that he's in that I wasn't even conceiving in my mind. Like sustainability to me was being, plant-based and building things from recycled things. And, he brought a whole new level of technology to the space. So we'll be off the grid. We already are on a well, septic, but solar grids and, being able to sustain the land in a way that I never would have thought of. Hempcrete and building our buildings, data storage. I would never think of data storage, right? Being at this, So it's growing, and it took me a good year. This year has been me shedding, but it's my idea, and allowing other people to have their visions to create kind of what I envisioned, but up and up.
Okay. You just mentioned sort of a synopsis. Can you just talk about everything that you offer here right now in property?
I'll let you answer me. And then I'll fill in.
Okay.
So I think at its core, right, it's a space to be. So there's the opportunity for someone to come and exist as a person of color, as a Black person, as someone who needs healing or rest or rejuvenation. So in an individual stance, someone could come, do a retreat here where they need to create their art in a space that's not, muddled by everybody else's energy. As well as, group gatherings where we've done a wedding, corporate gatherings, week-long retreats, things like that. As we develop, we're building an agricultural program, so there'll be volunteering summer events that are outdoors with outdoor activities, like the Buffalo Soldiers. We're working with them. So horseback riding, not tying. That's the thing is it's so multifaceted. It's almost what can't you do here? It's just cool to do it in a place that we're not renting from.
Right.
You know what I mean? This year we'll be finishing the Friends of the Family Art Center down the hill, which is what the project I was talking about earlier. So there will be artist retreats, artist learning events, and things of that sort. Healer events for healing and for healers to come and work on their craft, teach their craft, but also rest and recuperate and meditate.
We've kind of become the healing place for healers, right? And this land, we've built this land up to be sacred, hence the name, right? We started out as gathering roots. And I think we did that. And then we've changed our name. We've made a lot of transition to make this ground a sacred, holy space. And it was intentional, but it also is the origin of where this land is, right? We are close to the Muckleshoot Reservation. There are also smaller tribes that are out in this area that we are wanting to connect to. There are other Black farmers out here that we weren't even aware of in this area. So just being able to build with our neighbors, to build with the network. We haven't really even begun the actual physical groundwork to build this into what it's going to be. So we've just been utilizing it as is. We partner with the Buffalo Soldiers of Seattle. We work with the Black Prisoners Caucus. We've worked with United Way of King County. We worked with Black Airbnb. Help me. And then Adams Biofiber Industries, who are teaching us about hemp and the qualities of building sustainable building practices with hempcrete. We're
actually healing the soil.
Yeah, literally.
That we purchased, so that the land can be more fruitful.
So the first few years, Lexi King, who is our chief land steward and manages the land, and I were out here, and Baba came later, but we were out here doing soil samples and learning about the land. So we would stay here for weeks at a time just to put our energy on the space and hear and listen to what the land is telling us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that was what next question I was going to ask you. How much do you know about this land before you purchased it?
From what I understand, it was vacant pasture. Well, let me back up. The house that we're sitting in now is 18 acres.
Okay.
There was a family that lived here. There's been we're the third occupant of this house. It was built in 2005, I believe.
Okay.
And the folks that had it before us put it on the market. They were doing a project locally to put it on the market. They moved to wherever they were moving out of state. And then they had a daughter here who was drug addicted and squatted in this house for like 2 years. And by the time she left, the house was gutted. They took I guess she owed us debt of some sort. And they stripped the copper and the appliances and they to the studs. So the family that we bought it from, who are amazing Native family, were working on the project of the Muckleshoots village, their downtown, their municipality and all of their structures. And he bought this house to do that project and then moved and sold the house to us. So this house is pretty brand new because he was an architect.
Yeah.
And there's so many little bells and whistles in this house. I don't know them all.
Tile in the bathroom and little stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a steam room. There's a hot tub.
Oh.
There's an indoor 2-person tub and there's an outdoor 8-person hot tub.
Oh, wow.
There's, piped in sound and there's a lot of little trinkets, I call them, to this house. But our job was to listen to the actual land and the trees. And at first, being able to welcome people here and get rid of all of the energy. Because when Lexi and I were first here, we were having people come up on the property. Lexi walked up on some guy getting out of the hot tub. He got on a dirt bike and sped off. So there was a lot of the energy of the first tenants, I'll say. And we did a lot of ritual, inviting ancestral energy. We did a lot of ancestral rituals to bring out the ancestry of the land as well as us and our ancestors so that we could make this land safe. And we haven't had any more real challenges. Nothing major has happened.
Can you talk to me about the Black farming community in this area? I would imagine that a lot of people didn't even know. Maybe they know maybe 2 or 3 folks that have property.
Yeah.
But what is the Black farming community like?
Well, there's a lot of people that we don't know, but there's probably 5 families that live in this area that we know about. Aiko Farms is one, and they do a lot of vegetables, and they have retreats on their space as well, a different type of retreat. They had a capoeira retreat out here this past summer. They've had it 3 years in a row now, I believe. And so we kind of partner with them on certain things. When they can't house all their people, we'll help them. There's also the sisters.
And they grow the best berries.
Yeah, they have,
really?
They have really good berries.
Okay.
Really good,
berries,
just
strawberries.
produce.
Okay.
And they bring us produce.
Okay.
Garlic.
Right.
They brought us some garlic this year.
Oh, cool.
Like bushels of garlic.
We started growing some in our greenhouse, actually.
Yeah. And then when we had greens, we didn't know what to do with all the greens that we had, so we gifted it to them. And
Penne and tomatoes. and Ghanaian yellow peppers that we grew. Gave to them. Yeah, they're tasty.
Yeah, we're learning agriculture.
Right.
Lexi is a farmer, but she is an herbal farmer. She wasn't really familiar with vegetables. And so now she's working on her degree in regenerative farming.
Okay. And you also have gardens out there. You grow vegetables.
We have a greenhouse.
Harvesting.
Yeah. So we got a grant our third year. And we went and Lexi and I drove up to Oregon to pick up all the components to build the greenhouse. And our neighbor actually built it for us.
Okay.
Eldon Murray is our next door neighbor. He has 129 acres next door to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this whole side of this street. And he's been just really helpful with us not learning how farming works out here, how the neighbors work, what's what. He's been here for 5 generations. So he's been very helpful. But so we grow vegetables, we've grown herbs, we're growing hemp. We have workshops and classes to teach the hemp with Biofiber Industries. And Lexi and Jaylon started out as the assistant land steward and was promoted because he's building the Friends of the Family art space. And he's an artist by trade. So it just was natural to move him into that space. And he was doing so much good work here. We couldn't not hire him.
That was for me, though. That was but what I tell people, one, check our website out if you want to use the space. sacredlandcollective.org. There's a place where you can request a tour, even just to see the land, book an event, just to inquire. It goes straight to us. And also, what I tell people as well is don't consider it it has to be an event. There has to be something going on. This is really a community space. We have Wi-Fi. If you need to come do your remote office work, you can come sit here and do your work. Just let us know. But really it's just getting, people to come in the door. And we are amidst our capital campaign as well. So, any donation, any references people want to give us the same.
Yes, please.
Same website.
Yes, please.
The buttons are right next to each other. But no, check the website out. There's a really good video we had made where you can see people experiencing the land. You can see what the land looks like. But it's really not that far of a drive.
And then I think the last time I talked to you, you said something about it's not like a farmer's market, but you do have something where people can come out and get classes and get fruits and vegetables.
So Tuesdays, it's Caesar's or season. Yeah, we're doing volunteer days.
Okay,
it's really when we do have things growing in the greenhouse, it is a very open, people come get some collards, come get some okra. Right now, Mother Hubbard's covers bare.
Yeah, we haven't even been selling them. We've just been gifting them to people.
Okay. Yeah, it's not really, I wouldn't call it a market. I would call it like a, community pantry.
Community pantry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And initially, the greenhouse was started to support the retreat space. So we wanted to have fresh, if someone was coming to retreat, have food for them. And it's kind of developed into its own other entity by itself. We also have a goal, we haven't started it yet, but to grow flowers.
Okay.
And that can be kind of a stream of income for us, or stream of revenue, because we are fundraising and we are looking for unique ways to raise money here aside from retreats.
Okay. And just a couple more questions. Before you started this and then where you are now, if you had to say, before I got into this, I had no idea about blank. What would blank be?
Black ownership.
Which means?
There's a lot of aspects of the city life where you feel like you have a lot of things and, I've got my own apartment and I've got my own space and I've got this yard. And then you come here and then you see, it's like we always make the Lion King joke, everything the light touches is ours. You look out the window and you're like, whoa, this land is stewarded and owned by the people that I communicate with every day versus having a business, in the city block where it's like I'm paying on it, but it's not really. That changed my whole perspective, as well as, not, grants. I think were a big thing, like learning about grants, how accessible they are, how important it is to write grants, because everybody has in this mindset, well, I have to save this whole year and then I'll be able to buy this thing. And you can get a grant if you really, you have your dream, you dream big as possible. And then you put that to the grindstone, refine your idea down and write it into a grant. And it's really possible to get, like you said, $3.5 million to do something.
Wow.
It's really possible.
A lot of it, was divine timing. And a lot of it was, having an actual plan, but not a specific plan. We knew that we needed a space. What we needed the space for in its fullness is what I'm learning. I'm like, oh, we could do so many things. And then there's some things that we have to say, no, that's not if I have one more person that says, can I buy an acre? We could do that, but no, that's not the purpose of this land. Mm-hmm. It's also not a place, there are two people that live on the land to help us take care of it, but it's not, this house is available for community to be and to rest and to, see what's different. Like we work with we had a camp out here of young women, and this house, now I grew up in a, decent neighborhood, nice house and all of that. But there are people that come here that have never been able to have access to a house like this, which blew my mind, right? And land like this, but just to be able to walk in the woods and feel free and feel safe to just be. And that for me is what I learned the most, I think, is just how important access is.
United Way of King County is intentional about supporting BIPOC businesses and resources at our own events. Mari Hirabayashi, United Way Events and Marketing Manager, discussed how we go about ensuring that BIPOC businesses are a staple at United Way gatherings.
As the event manager, when designing our events, one of my goals is to stimulate BIPOC small businesses in King County. I initially research and seek out BIPOC-owned businesses, including venues, caterers, florists, photographers, and more. I often use the Intentionalist website to learn more about BIPOC and or LGBTQ-owned businesses. And as a practice, we also promote these businesses in our email, in our marketing, and other forms of promotion. Most recently, we hosted a happy hour and hellos event for our young professionals donor group at Terry's Kitchen in Bellevue. It is owned by Terry Takeuchi, who created this restaurant and especially the menu as an homage to a lot of the South Seattle restaurants. So before the Beacon Hill light rail station was created, there was a restaurant called South Perico's South China. And it was really a staple for a lot of family celebrations and just, I think, very generationally an amazing place for families to go. And so his current menu serves a lot of the same dishes that we used to have there. And I think it's a great continuation of the legend and keeping the community engaged. Also, for our past fundraising galas, we used to have one called Eat, Drink, and Be Generous. And the idea was to bring in many different chefs who would offer small plates to our guests, and people could roam around and try different foods. And we engaged with many BIPOC-owned chefs and restaurants, such as Communion, Musang, Jerk Shack, and Hood Famous to serve our guests. And it was a great way to bring all of these business owners together and create a mini community within our fundraising event. So working with BIPOC-owned businesses in our community is really an element that is baked into my planning.
Lastly, Omi and Jaylon spoke about the one overriding sentiment that they received from the many people who have visited Sacred Land Collective.
The first thing that came to my mind, it sounds cliche, but is sacred.
Okay.
We've had people do day retreats, with their organizations. And they're like, when I started driving up this street, when I turned up to going up the hill, I immediately felt a calm. I felt myself decompressing. I felt close to nature. Like, that's the other thing. Like, we take it for granted that we take it for granted because there's elk out here all the time, right? People have never seen an elk. Never seen an elk. And they're like, an elk or a deer that could just walk up to the house or, an eagle flying overhead. Those things are sacred. And so, for me, the thing that I've noticed the most that people will come and say, wow, I just feel better just being here. Mm. And that's not us. It's a result of us, but it's this land. It can hold the grief. It can hold the joy.
We feel the same thing.
You know what I mean?
Coming up to drive. I mean, I moved here. I like it so much.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think for me, it's one thing I see a lot of people saying is it's funny because it kind of contradicts because people be like, your land is beautiful. Your organization is great. And when I tell people it's ours, not Jaylon and Omi, not Sacred Land Collective, it's the community's land. So
with boundaries.
Yeah. It's our land to be and exist on, but it's also our land to steward. So that's my goal of getting people out here to say, like, if you want access to this land, please do. But at the same time, there is, things that need to be done. There's things like the brother Jacob that just left. He's been coming here every week for the past 6 months. 1 day a week, just putting in whatever y'all need.
It's incredible. And we keep off.
And not even for us. We didn't ask him. This is for him.
Yeah. And he'll tell you, I've tried to pay him. I've tried to we want to do something nice for you. He's like, this is what's nice for me. Mm-hmm. He was like, you don't even understand the medicine. And Jamalo, who's also part of our staff, he was like, this is my medicine. I come out here, I cut the grass, I tend to the vegetables, I fix things, because I can. So it's incredible. And, Jacob will not let us pay him.
Omi and Jaylon, Sacred Land Collective, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
For listening to our story.
For more information about Sacred Land Collective, log on to sacredlandcollective.org. United Way of King County's free tax preparation campaign is back. If you make less than $80,000 a year as a single filer, or less than $96,000 a year for non-single filers, you can have your taxes prepared for free at one of our 20 locations across King County. Those sites are now open through April 19th, and we have a virtual site that runs from February 2nd through April 19th. Funded by United Way, the IRS, and the City of Seattle, the free tax campaign offers tax preparation by specialists who will help clients understand their unique tax situations and take advantage of credits like the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Working Families Tax Credit. Last year, United Way's free tax campaign reached 18,200 of our neighbors, supporting them with $17 million in tax credits and refunds. For more information, log on to freetaxexperts.org. World Relief Western Washington of Kent is looking for volunteers to work in its Paradise Parking Plots community garden. Paradise Parking Plots is a 2-acre garden that provides spaces for refugee, immigrant, and Kent residents to grow cultural foods and reconnect with the soil. World Relief will train volunteers to do tasks such as weeding its food forest, controlling pets and diseases, and taking part in construction projects. For more information, log on to worldrelief.org/Western-WA and click on the Get Involved page. At United Way of King County, we are working side by side with communities to build an equitable future for everyone. Hourglass United Way is a podcast that highlights how we and our partners spend time making a difference in our communities. Our work is made possible by the generous donations from people like you. Please send comments and suggestions about our podcast to hourglassunitedway@gmail.com. To learn more about our work or to support United Way, log on to uwkc.org. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for listening. Until next time.